Hey everybody, I'm Timothy Heaney. I'm a principal program manager. I work on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And one of the things that we try to do in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center in partnership with the Azure team is to make sure that we give you the tools that you need to realize least privilege across your Microsoft 365 suite of services. I'm going to take you through what we've done in the past year to help you achieve that. So with that said, let's dive right in. There's four key things we want to hit in this session. One of them is we want to make sure that you understand what the RBAC North Star is, the role-based access control North Star is, where we're heading. We want to be able to show you what has shipped over the past year. We want to take you through all the features that we have planned and the order in which we plan on delivering them, as well as some of the limitations of some of the preview features so you can understand what value you can get today versus what value you'll be able to get soon. And then we'll show you some of our backlog and we'll give you a survey that you can go to help us prioritize that backlog. Your feedback is the thing that drives so much of what we do. And when we listen to your feedback, we come at all the big events such as Ignite, we come and we listen to your feedback. We have sessions around your feedback. Throughout the year, we have one-off sessions with many of the enterprise customers where RBAC is even more relevant. And we take into account everything we hear as we build out our roadmaps and as we decide on what features to build. It's 100% built based off of what we hear from you all. We're trying to get you the controls you need to feel confident in your service. One of the things that we hear from you all is that too many tasks require global administrators. This is not a new thing. This is something that continues to be a problem and it continues to plague us, right? So I'm going to show you some of the things we've done, and I'm actually going to demonstrate some of the ways that we've accomplished overcoming this. There's still more work to do, but we're delivering so many tools and so many things that will help with this. Tenant-wide access does not work for distributed IT environments. It's another big thing that we hear. So, when you give somebody tenant-wide access, that tenant could span multiple regions. It could span multiple departments. It could span all these different areas. Giving the keys to the kingdom or even partial keys to the kingdom on a tenant-wide is sometimes not the right approach. So we'll talk about what we're doing in that area. I do not know who has access to what. Being able to audit and understand who has access and understand where you might be susceptible is really important. We built some tools to help you with that. And it's difficult to identify the least privileged role for each admin. If you want somebody to be able to do task X, Y, and Z, how do you know which role is the right role to provide them to do that task without giving them too much? And again, this goes back to the first piece of feedback. Too many tasks require global admin. A lot of times too many tasks require global admin because we don't know what the right role is. So we're trying to give you the tools that you need to make educated choices on the roles you assign to your administrators. Part of the RBAC North Star is understanding that there's a very real security threat to having too many permanent global admins. So one of the things that we strive to do is ensure that our customers reduce the number of global admins permanent global admins that they have in their organization. We know that global admins are compromised at twice the rate of other accounts, and we need to make sure that we reduce that risk, either by making your global admins only global admins when they need it, just-in-time global admins, or giving you options to get away from global admins. It's easy to say, hey, have less global admins, but we got to give you the tools to get there. And that's what we're laser focused on. So with that said, some of the things we're delivering, and this is kind of the framing for this session, is fine-grained delegation. We're going to tell you what we were doing to give you fine-grained delegation to allow you to get away from that global admin. Single point of management. This is all about making sure that you can manage roles across the suite, the Microsoft 365 suite, in one place. This is one of those things that will take time to get all the services, but we are working towards that single point of management, being the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and intelligently guide you to least privilege. This again is giving you tools to allow you to get to that least privilege, to give people just the rights they need. Go into fine-grained delegation, talk about some of the things that we've been delivering there. One of the things that I wanted to show first was the impact of built-in roles. So let's say you wanted to have a role. A feature we delivered last year, and I'll demo this later too, but a feature we delivered last year was compare roles. And if you were to say, look at the roles we had, the built-in roles in Active Directory that we had a year ago, one of the things you wouldn't see is password admin and hybrid identity admin. So let's say you were just somebody trying to say, okay, what role am I going to give somebody so that they could change some passwords or things like that within a tenant? One of the things that you would have looked at was the two on the left here weren't there. So all they would have was user admin. Look at all the green dots there. Look at all the permissions they have. They don't need that many permissions just to reset passwords, yet that's probably the role you would have chosen. We've delivered so many new roles over the past year, and there's more coming. I have slides coming up that show some more that give you fine-grained control. So look at the column in the middle and the column on the right, password admin and hybrid identity admin. Both of those have been made available to you, but just making them available to you isn't enough. We have to give you the tools so that you are sure that this admin will be able to do the tasks that you want them to do. Thing like this compare roles clearly shows what's possible with each of the roles, right? So now you could go in and say, I don't need them to have all the rights of a user admin. Password admin is exactly what I need. You can click on it and assign the role. And I'll show a demo of that later, but I believe this compare of showing the existing roles that we had before, user admin, with two of the newer roles shows the power of just giving you additional AAD roles. That's not to say I know people want custom roles, and we'll talk about custom roles in a minute. Everybody, not everybody, a lot of people say they want custom roles. Even without custom roles, there's a lot that can be achieved with the built-in roles that we have. Custom roles should be the exception, not the rule. One of the things that we've noticed is this built-in role is actually impacting that North Star that we talked about. We talked about the North Star of reducing the number of permanent global admins. Of the larger enterprises, we could see that 90% of them are using Global Reader, and 38% of the ones that are using Global Reader have reduced the number of global admins. This notion of having built-in roles does work in reducing your global admin footprint. It is making you more secure. So keep going in, keep looking at the different roles, and get frugal with your role assignments. Give them what they need and nothing more. Recently released roles, one of them I just talked about was hybrid identity. You can see a whole bunch of recently released roles, that built-in roles that are now available. I think we're close to, or right around 50 roles now for Azure Active Directory roles. There's so many of them that are there to choose from. It's probably more than 50 at this point with the inclusion of these. So, and we keep building more. So some of the ones that are coming soon are, as an example, domain admin. Domain admin is one of those things where the people that have to add a domain are often the people that have to set up DNS records and things like that for your organization. They don't necessarily need the keys to Microsoft 365 suite of services. They just need to be able to add and verify a domain. Give them the rights they need to be able to manage a domain and nothing more. That's the idea of this. So this is just an example of something where they used to have too many rights to do a task, and now we're getting fine-grained with it. How many customers have a domain? I mean, most, right? And we're making them all be global admins to add a domain. It seems a bit excessive, especially in larger organizations. Stuff like that is getting, remediated. Another thing that we're doing to help with fine-grained role delegation is we're allowing for groups assigned to roles. Now, to be clear, this is not available in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center yet. You can see that it's in planning phase, but it is available in Azure Active Directory in public preview, so it should be there in your tenant today. There's some limitations. It is only for new groups, so you have to have a brand new group, create a new group, and make sure that you flip this toggle for Azure AD roles can be assigned to this group during creation. You cannot do it after. And then you can come down here and assign roles. The idea is, though, that you can create a group, assign roles to that group, and then if you move, let's say you have an Exchange administrators group or messaging group or whatever, you can move people into that group. They will automatically get those roles. And then if they ever move teams or anything like that, you just take them out of that group. You no longer have to go person by person to assign roles. It makes it to where you can be very consistent and not keep roles lingering. One of the bigger problems we see is you assign somebody a role and then they've had 3 new jobs, and yet they still have roles from 2 jobs ago. If they were in groups, you would just take them out of that group, and that role that they no longer need is now gone. It keeps things much cleaner. I believe it's an efficient way to honestly keep you honest, right? As you move people onto new roles, they don't need things. They're moved out of the groups. It makes these things a lot more efficient to manage. Custom roles are there right now for a small subset of features, such as application registration and just a few things. I have it on the next slide on exactly what it's there for. But the idea of this is our first foray into allowing you to get very granular with it, saying what attributes and what toggles you can read and edit and update and delete, very specific settings that you can control. And we're giving you those controls in a very granular way. We're doing it in a very targeted way in the beginning, and it's only available in Azure Active Directory in the beginning. We are in the process of expanding the scope of this so that it includes things like user management and groups management. And once it goes to user management and groups management, that's around the time frame that you should expect to see, because those are the key things you do in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. That's when you should expect to start seeing these features roll out to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So I don't have an exact timeline for that, but it is something that we are planning for integration at some point. Custom roles, like I said, there's a couple things that are in preview or in development. Application registration is there now in preview. Enterprise application management, as example, is another one that's in preview, so you could use those today. The things that are coming, which is kind of the bigger things as far as I'm concerned, to get things into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, is being able to do user management. You could see that in the backlog. We also heard very clearly that many of you want to have PIM capabilities, so just-in-time access associated with these. That's also in our backlog, and we know it's important. So. And then you see in the backlog also is Microsoft 365 Admin Center integration. Again, when user management comes along with custom roles, that's when we plan on starting our integration. So now we're going to break into a demo so you can see what groups assigned to roles in Azure Active Directory looks like and what custom role management in Azure Active Directory looks like. Today we're going to start by going to admin.microsoft.com to log into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. This is where I normally go whenever I'm doing any administration. But in this case, I'm doing groups assigned to roles, so I have to go to Azure Active Directory because it doesn't live in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center just yet. So when I go to add, I'm going to go to the AAD portal, and on the left side you'll see I see Azure Active Directory. We'll click on that. From there, I'll be able to do groups management. Now, when I do groups management, you're going to see a list of all the groups that I have within my organization, and you'll also see an option to create a new group. One of the things to recognize is some of the existing groups were created without the toggle to say that roles can be assigned to the group. What I'm referring to is when I do new group creation, you'll see that I can give it a name. Let's call it Ignite Group. And give it a description, group for Ignite. Not very creative, but. And you see this toggle here. Azure AD roles can be assigned to this group. So I click yes, and you'll see roles can be assigned. I click no, roles cannot be assigned. This has to be set, at least today, this has to be set during creation of the group. So I'm going to click roles. I'm going to pick my favorite role, which is the global reader role. You can look, but you can't touch. I'm going to hit create. It's going to give me a warning saying roles will be able to be assigned to this and it can't be changed. So click yes on that. All right. Now, when you look at the roles themselves, you're going to see two things. You're going to see, if you look at one that was created previously, you see that there's no way to do role management here because we're not going to be able to assign roles to this group. But if you look at the one I just created, you'll notice there's another thing there that says assign roles. So I can go here, I can look at the assigned roles that are part of that group. Global Reader is one of the assigned roles. So it's that simple. You can add multiple roles here. So maybe you have a thing that you'd like to give help desks, a certain set of roles. You could do that and just add the users to the group, and it makes you much more efficient with role management. Now, jumping over to the next demonstration, we're going to talk about custom roles. So in this case, I'm going to go to, again, roles and administration. And in here, I'm going to create a new custom role. I'm going to give the custom role a name like Twitter app reg admin. These custom roles, like I said, they're limited to, said previously, they're limited to certain features. And this one is, one of the features is the app registration. So I'm going to create this one for that. In here, you'll see that there's read, update, read for all different kinds of settings, create, delete. So you can get very granular with the assignment you give this. I'm just going to pick 4 at random. I'm going to click next, and then it'll give me an option to review the settings. And then I click create. Once I click create, you'll see that there's a new Twitter app reg admin. So now I'm going to go to the app registration section of the portal right here. And from there, I'm going to go to all applications, and you'll see Twitter is one of those applications. From here, I can go to roles and administrations, and you'll see that I see app reg Twitter listed here. and I can assign admins to this role. I can and do the rest of the management from here. So you can see how easy it is to create a custom role and apply it to an application. We're going to be growing a list of capabilities of these custom roles in the coming months. So we're just getting started, so stay tuned. Now we're going to talk about administrative units. We talked about it earlier that scoping is important, being able to make sure that you can give somebody the right level of permissions, using the right role, giving them the right user admin assignment, giving them the right level of access, but making sure that they can actually manage the right types of objects or the right objects, from a specific location to a specific department. Think about education when you could have things like different, law schools and different things like that as part of the organization. Maybe you just administer the users within a law school or within a classroom or whatever, right? The idea is that you can get very scoped to meet the needs of those different verticals, right? So what we've done for this, we actually have this already. It's a feature called administrative units. We have it already, but we're investing more heavily in it to make it a more robust feature. So bring structure to your organization. That's number one thing that admin units do. It allows you to organize things in a way that you could say, okay, I have my, like I said, law school and business school and whatever not, if you're an education institution. Or you could have my North America and my Asia locations, right? You can structure things in a logical way, akin to if you've used on-premises and you're familiar with organizational units. It's very akin to OUs. The only difference is the structure is flat, where OUs were nested. These aren't necessarily nested. They can have overlap, but they're not nested. But at the end of the day, it is a way to put a logical structure on your directory, which was the same objective as organizational units. Then you have to think about what you want to give permissions to. Like, do you want to give permissions to all of the users within North America, or all of the users in groups, or just groups, or whatever the objects are that you want to manage? In the future, do you want them to be able to manage applications in North America? The list goes on, right? So it's about not just defining the scope of where they can manage, but also what they can manage, the types of objects they can manage. Then the third thing I think is kind of the most important. It's a common way to scope resources across Microsoft 365. This vision is going to take some time to get 100% product truth. But what we're on a road to doing is we're on the road to having admin units be the scoping mechanism across M365 services. So today, you have a scoping mechanism for Exchange, and they have their own scoping mechanism. In Intune, they have their own scoping mechanism. They have scope tags and different things like that. And then in AAD, there's already the notion of admin units. We know that if you're trying to scope your M365 services across the services, and you have to manage 3 different types of and more types of scoping mechanisms, the likelihood of getting it right, maybe even the ability to make a match up and be the same, it's going to be a daunting task, right? So what we're working toward is getting all of the services to leverage the same scoping mechanism. That is the North Star. It is going to take time to get there, but this is the direction we're going. We are working towards making admin units the thing that works across all services. So I'll talk about the roadmap for that in a minute. Anyway, so it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Get a logical structure going, determine what type of objects you're going to delegate administration to, and then leverage this common way of scoping across the different services. Part of that third one is on us. OUs are available today. They are there today. You can go into the AAD portal to configure them, and soon you'll be able to go into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to also configure them. But even if you configure them in the AAD portal or PowerShell, you can sign into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center with any of the 6 roles that are currently supported by AUs. You can log in and leverage any of them in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center today. We have full PowerShell support, so you can use PowerShell, and if you are scoped with an admin unit, you will see just the users as an example within your scope. So again, admin units are available today. There's no reason to wait. There are things that are coming to make it more robust. Like, as an example, one of the things that's coming to make it more robust is I'm not going to go through this whole list, but one of the things is devices scoped in AUs. Right now, we support users and groups. One of the things we want to support, and we think it's going to make a massive impact, is the ability to create an AU, say I want to manage North America. I want this admin to be able to manage North America and let them manage devices. Today, they can't manage devices through admin units. They would have to do that through Intune, scope tags and things like that. We are in the process of making that part of admin units, and that should be rolling out soon. The other one is dynamic membership for AUs. So add somebody to a group and they are dynamically added to AUs, very similar to the role management we talked about previously, allowing people to get assigned roles, just by adding to a group. Same thing here. People will be able to be added to an AU just by you adding them to a group. And again, we are working through getting AU integration with all the different services. So how do admin units work? Well, the first thing you do is you give your admin unit a name. And in this case, we're going to call it Belgium University. You add members to that admin unit. So you say, I want the admin unit to be able to manage these specific entities. And the list goes on. The async service will then synchronize this to Azure Active Directory. And it does take a little bit of time. So when you first create your admin unit and you add members, they might not show up immediately. They will show up very quickly after, but there is a sync that has to happen, a forward sync that has to happen in our service to sync the changes from Azure Active Directory to the other services, and then an acknowledgement that has to come back. That happens through an async service. Once that is done, we then scope the role members. So you add members to the administrative unit, and then you scope what they can access. Then you scope what they can manage, and that forward syncs to all the services. So all the services will acknowledge it. So basically, at this point, if it is an object that it is an exchange object, the exchange like a shared mailbox or something like that, if you've been granted access to it, it will then be honored, and you'll be able to do administration over that shared entity. So I'm going to demo administrative units. I'll demo two things. I'm going to demo how to create and manage admin units, as well as what it looks like when you sign in with an admin unit.
The first thing we're going to do is go to admin.microsoft.com to log into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. From here, we are going to go into the Azure Active Directory portal to create the administrative unit. The reason we're going to the Azure Active Directory portal to create the administrative unit is because there is no user experience today in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to do it. With that said, it is something that we are working on now. It's in development now, and you will be able to do it from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center soon. But for now, you go to the Azure Active Directory portal, and you will still be able to continue to go here to manage your administrative units. So you go to Azure Active Directory in the left-hand navigation once you're in the portal, and on this navigation, you'll see that there is a thing called Admin Units Preview. When you click on Admin Units Preview, one thing you'll be able to see is all the admin units we've created already here. And we'll be able to create yet another admin unit. So I come here, I click Add. I can give the admin unit a name. So we'll call it Ignite. Like 2020 demo. And do next to assign roles to it. This is it. These are the 6 roles that are available in admin units today. This list will grow, but you can come in here and say, okay, I want to have a couple of auth admins, maybe even search for somebody else. And you can add on that. You could say, I want a couple of help desk admins. I'll just pick, not competent. Pick this person. And I want a password admin. So here I'll be able to go through, pick Grady, add, and there you go. I've done all I want to do with this admin unit as far as roles go. Now I can review and create review the settings and create the administrative unit. It's that simple. This is something that you would have to go to. This is something that you would have had to go to PowerShell to do before, and now there's the UX for it. There's also an improved UX coming to the Azure Active Directory portal, as well as, like I said, the UX coming to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So with that said, let's jump over to the client side and show you what it looks like when you log in with one of these accounts. So we're going to start by logging in with a a user account. In this case, you can see it's password admin is the user account that we created. And they're going to log in so we could see the experience you would get at admin.microsoft.com within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center for a user that's been scoped. Now, in this case, the user has two different scopes. We have the two different AUs. There's an Ignite AU that we created just now, and a password AU, just a couple different AUs that were created, and they're allowed to manage those different AUs. You could imagine one could say North America, and one could say sales, or North America and South America. There could be all different types of AUs here, but this user is assigned to two of them. Now there's two options. They can click on reset password here, which will take them to an experience where they can initiate a reset password for the users they have the rights to manage. The other thing they could do is they could go to the users page. When you go to the users page, you can see the users in a list view. Again, this is a condensed list of the users they have the rights to manage as being part of that AU. If we were to flip to a different AU, you would see a different set of users, assuming that the set of users in scope were different between the AUs. So this is just an easy way to show you what you can and can't do. You'll notice that in the left nav, a whole lot of things aren't there. Billing isn't there, as an example. There's no billing rights associated with a password admin, so they don't need to see the billing node, so they don't see the billing node. They see what they need to see. So it's very streamlined and efficient for them to be able to get their task done.
One of the other things that we've definitely heard and we definitely know is that it isn't just about giving people the granularity of roles. Like sometimes people do need global admin. Sometimes people do need Exchange admin, but they don't need it all the time. So rather than making it permanent, what you can do is you can assign using PIM, you can make it so that roles are temporarily assigned, or you can make it so that somebody is eligible for a role and whenever they need it, they can opt in to getting it. The idea is that, yes, you are giving rights to people, but if they don't need it all the time, why keep that window or that door open for hackers and for people to come in and infiltrate, right? So the idea is to reduce your risk by having less time where that surface is available. So one of the things that we're investing in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center is both through user management and through role management, the ability to set time bound and make roles eligible and active and make roles never expire or expire. So you can say somebody is eligible and that expiration expires in, 3 months. You can say somebody is active and the expiration expires in, a week. You have the option of being very granular with the types, if they have the role and when they have the role. So this is a new set of features that is not there in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center yet, but it is coming very soon. So that's why I wanted to walk you through a prototype of what this looks like. So we're going to jump to that prototype now.
I'm going to walk us through the PIM role management and then the PIM user management, two of the things, like I mentioned, that are coming to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center soon. These are in prototype form because they're in development right now. So when I'm in admin.microsoft.com, come to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, I'm in role management. When within role management, I could go and look at the global admins as an example. And what you'll see is a bunch of global admins. Probably a bad example, there shouldn't be that many global admins, but anyway. And you can see that they're eligible or active and what their expiration is. Like as an example, this one is currently a global admin, and that permission expires on the June 15th. This one is a global admin with no expiration. That's a typical permanent role assignment. And click on Add. I can select another user, so I can pick Carlos here. You'll see by default it sets it to assign that role with no expiration, so permanent assignment. I click on Edit. I can make the user eligible or active, and whichever one I choose, I could choose to have it never expire, or I could choose to have it automatically expire. When I hit Apply, you'll see the settings are appropriate here. Hit Add, and now it's complete, and you'll see that there's an expiration associated with Carlos's account. So that permission, now he's eligible for it, doesn't necessarily have it, thereby reducing your risk. So let's switch over to user management. From here, I can go to Anton. I go to same place, Microsoft 365 Admin Center users, and go to Anton. When I look at Anton, I see the roles he has. He has an Exchange admin role, or she has an Exchange admin role. From here, I can say, okay, I want to also make her a help desk admin. So I click on that, and by default, it would could hit save and it would be a permanent help desk admin assignment. But we just needed the additional help for 3 months from the initial hit from COVID. So we said, okay, let's go ahead and click edit here. From here, I could make them eligible or active. I could choose which one I want and make it time bound where it expires after a certain period of time, just like the other settings I showed you with role management. I hit apply. You'll see that the settings are shown here. I hit save. Once I hit save, the role is saved and off we go. User is assigned just-in-time access, reducing the risk to your environment.
Now we're going to get into the single point of management story. This is something we actually brought up about a year ago at Ignite. And it's basically about making sure that you have a single place to come in to manage the services to manage RBAC across the Microsoft 365 suite of services. This I'm really excited about, because before, if you wanted to manage RBAC, you'd have to go to AAD and manage, or go to Microsoft 365 Admin Center and manage some of the AAD roles. Then you'd have to go to each of the different specialist centers to manage the roles. Some of them were included because, like Teams has built all their roles into Azure Active Directory from the start, because they were a newer service at that point. So they made the decision to do it, built into AAD, which means you could do the roles for that, and then other services you couldn't. And while it's good that Teams added directly into Azure Active Directory, because it does make things more coherent, more consistent, all that's way easier, but it does lead to, okay, which services do I do local versus which ones do I have to go to other admin centers for? It gets very confusing. So the more we can include in Microsoft 365 Admin Center, to me, that's a good thing. So one of the things that we introduced, I believe it was in June, we introduced it in May as an experiment. We completed the rollout, I believe it was in June, is the ability to manage Intune services from within. So you'll see the Intune pivot here, and I have a demo of this later, but Intune services from within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. One of the cool things about this is it's not just a view-only mode of Intune roles. You can set up Intune roles, assignments, if you can assign people to Intune roles. You can assign groups to Intune roles, assign roles to groups as well. You can set up scope tags and scope groups. Just like everything you could do with Intune management, it is a full-fledged Intune role-based access control management story built into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So you could go just between the pivots rather than going between admin centers to achieve it. Makes it so much easier just to go to one place to manage your roles, and you can get much more scoped with your roles because you see the options right in front of you. Again, that's available to you today as long as Intune is part of your subscription, as long as you purchase a product that includes the Intune suite of services. The next one that's coming soon, and it's coming very soon, we're very close to being complete, is Exchange Role Management, added as another pivot. So Exchange will be added as another pivot into the roles page in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Really cool thing here is that the experience that we're building in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, we're actually not building it all. They're building it in the Exchange Admin Center. And then we're taking exactly what they built, the code they built, and we are using it in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. The beautiful thing about this is that you get a 100% full-fledged RBAC role management experience for Exchange. So you get to do everything you could do with role-based management in Exchange. You could do either in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center or in the Exchange Admin Center. You do not have to relearn how to do it because it is the same code. It is the same user experience completely. We are leveraging their experience in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So you get 100% coherence. And when you look at it from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, it shows up just as another pivot, just like the Intune one does. So the idea is that you're going to see more and more services showing up, more and more pivots showing up in the role space, allowing us to deliver for you all that single pane of glass for RBAC management. Super excited about this one because it does mean not only do you get to manage roles, but it's 100% coherence between the experiences. So no matter what your entry point is to managing, you're going to get that one experience to manage Exchange roles. It will lead to less confusion and less problems for you. At least that's what we believe. Now I'm going to talk about intelligently guiding you to least privilege. This is the thing that we talked about. We're allowing you to make sure that you can make educated decisions on what role to provide, who to remove from a role, being able to audit role access, things like that. So one of the first things I want to show is a thing that we've had. It's a real subtle thing. When you're doing role management, like let's say you get a recommendation to remove, you have too many global admins and you go in and look at all your global admins. We put a new column in there, real simple. It's called last sign in. In there, we show the last sign in date and time. The beautiful thing about this is you could see if somebody hasn't signed in for 30 days. They haven't signed in 30 days and they're a global admin, they likely don't need that permission. I'm not saying that in itself could tell you that they don't need that permission, but you could imagine that that could be an indicator that they don't need that permission. So it's just little insights that you get that we're trying to feed you that will allow you to make more educated decisions on who should and shouldn't have roles, maybe who should you remove from roles, things like that. Again, that in itself isn't going to be enough to allow you to make a decision, but it's a piece of the puzzle to allow you to know who should and shouldn't have the permissions or be assigned to that role. That is rolling out as we speak. The other one that we're in the final stages of development on that should be rolling out in roughly October is a new recommendation to tell you if you have too many global administrators within your organization. By too many, what we count is if you have more than 5 global administrators in your organization, we consider that to be too many. In here, you'll get a recommendation that leads you to a page that tells you why it's important to reduce the number of global admins. And then when you click Get Started, it will take you through a flow that will allow you to remove those global admins. Beautiful thing is, when you're going through that flow, just like in the screen I just showed you, you will see the last sign-in time. So maybe you'll say, oh, anybody that hasn't signed in for like 30 days, I'm just going to get rid of them to get me below that 5, right? Or at least get me closer to that. Again, we're using insights we know about you to help you get more secure. We see that you have more than 5 global admins. We're going to give you a recommendation to reduce that, to reduce your security risk, and give you the tools to achieve it. But things like last sign-in and a flow that makes sense to get rid of those admins. Another thing that we've done is we've added a feature we call Run As. So imagine you get a call or a Teams message from somebody that says, hey, I'm looking to be able to manage licenses. I want to be able to do license adding and management, but I don't need to do things like reset passwords and so on and so forth. So you come into, let's say you say, okay, well, let me see what role makes sense. Did you see a license administrator role or whatever role makes sense to you? You go in and you say, I think that's the right role, but I'm not 100% sure. What you could do now is you could do a run as on that role, and this is rolling out now as well. You could do a run as on that role. It will open in a new tab, and you'll be able to actually see the experience you would get as that administrator with that role assigned. So now not only are you thinking based on the compare results and whatnot that this is the right role, you can actually go in and make sure, because you can actually live the life of that admin basically in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Really powerful tools to make sure you're making the right choices when it comes to role assignments. Now I'm going to go ahead and demo all the goodness I just talked about in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center that we've done.
So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and we're going to show you the role management capabilities we've added over the past year. So let's dive right in. One of the things you'll notice is that we have roles in the left nav. If you ever don't see it, you can go to show all the roles. So when I click on roles, you'll see a huge list of roles. This is all the Azure Active Directory roles. One of the cool things here is that you could type in and filter based on anything you want. So like right now, I'm going to filter on identity because I want to manage some identity stuff. You can see it already reduced the list dramatically. What it's searching against is the name, the description, and the permissions associated with a specific role. So if I come here, click on a role, I can go to permissions, see the permissions list. So it's searching name, description, and permissions list to refine the list of roles. Pretty cool. So that helps us, refine the list, but I still don't know quite which one I need. In this case, I want to be able to do some password management, but I want to make sure it has the right level of password management. So I'm going to check out this one. That seems like a new one to me, Hybrid Identity Admin. User Admin is one that I'm very familiar with because it's been out a long time. And I'm going to check it out against this Password Admin too. So when I have the 3 selected, I'll hit Compare. But keep in mind, you can compare one and even get robust information on it, understand what permissions on it, and you can compare up to 3 at a time. So in this case, if you think back a year ago, the only role of these 3 that would have been available is User Admin. Look at all the permissions that are associated. I mean, you have to scroll, and I can keep scrolling to see all the permissions associated with User Admin. So in this case, the things that you get with Password Admin are what I need, or what at least I believe I need. So I can come here, click on this, and immediately go and assign the role to an admin. It allows me to get informed and take action, all within one simple flow. One of the other really cool things that's been added is I'm going to show you with Global Admin. because one of the it's not just global admin, it's in all of the role assignment pages. But one of the things with global admin is we'd like to, tell you all that we don't like to, but we tell you all that the fact that global admins are have twice the risk, or they're compromised at twice the rate of other accounts. So we want to reduce your risk by reducing the number of permanent global admins. Having the ability to see the last sign-in time for the last 30 days allows you to really understand if that user really needs to be a global administrator. The fact that they didn't sign in alone, that might not be able to tell you that they don't need it. But at the end of the day, it could be a leading indicator that they don't need that permission anymore, or maybe they need it through PIN, where it's just in time. At the end of the day, you can remove the permanent global admin from the list here, or edit their capabilities with PIN to give just-in-time access. Again, another thing to keep you informed and make the right decisions, for your organization. Another really cool feature, or set of features that's been added, is Intune. So within Intune, one of the things you'll see is that you have a full-fledged Intune role management experience. You no longer have to go to the Microsoft Endpoint Manager to manage Intune roles. You get all of the Intune roles that are available in the Specialist Center, and you get to just pick the first one here. You can go and see who's assigned to the role. You can see what permissions are within that role. Again, with Intune, the assignments are groups, so you can see the groups here. Again, you get a whole bunch of robust information about the role. You could also add an assignment. When you add an assignment, it's going to take you through a common wizard pattern to add the assignment, where you can give it a name. You can select the admins that you want to be giving the permissions to. This would be specifying a group. So let's just do Intune. I'll show you what this looks like. Role assignment. Just do that. And all right. Next thing you're going to do is select groups. So you'll be able to select a group that you want to assign the role to. So do my awesome group. The next thing you do is specify who they can manage, all users and devices. And then from here, we don't have scope tags, but this is how Intune does scoping today. We'd be able to set up scope tags or leverage scope tags that are set up so that you can scope the role assignments to a specific set of users based on that tag. The idea is that you can easily go through a wizard to configure these Intune policies, and you get the full-fledged Intune management experience. You don't have to go to the Microsoft Endpoint Manager anymore. And now the role is assigned. So full-fledged Intune experience built in. Exchange is coming next, and it will show up right next to Intune. The last thing I wanted to show you was the ability that we have now for a feature called Run As. This is super cool, a super cool feature that allows you to really be able to understand what a user can do before you assign them that role. It's like, let's say somebody calls up and says, I want you to, I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z with the user. You can say, okay, well, let's see what that would look like. So to make sure they could do what they need to achieve. So let's say I select a role and I do Run As. What this is going to do is open up in a brand new tab, allowing me to see what the experience would be like if I was logged in with that admin. You'll notice that in the billing node, now I only have licenses instead of having all the things under billing. It's showing me what's available to that user admin. And if I go to users, I could still go in and check out what I can do with that role assignment. The idea is that you can go in and try before you assign. And again, making you more educated and more impactful and more efficient with your role assignments. It'll allow you to say, instead of maybe, we'll just give them the bigger permission because I think it will, I'm not sure, but I know that the one with more permissions will let them do their, what they're asking to do. You can come in here and just check it out and give them the least privilege. The idea is give them the least privilege they need to do their job. And this is yet another tool, Run As, that will allow you to do that.
Now that we've gone through all the things that are in Microsoft 365 Admin Center and things that are coming soon to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, let's dive into what's on our roadmap and how you can help us prioritize our roadmap within Microsoft 365. First thing I want to share with you is this link. This link will allow you to go and take a brief survey to be able to tell us what is most important to you when you think about what you want from your RBAC investments within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I encourage you to go to this. In the beginning, I talked about the feedback we got. Much of this feedback comes from surveys. Much of this feedback comes from going through videos like this and going to conferences like this and you participating and telling us what you need. That's what we use to drive the next set of features. So if you like what you saw today, it's probably because you gave us feedback last time. If you don't like what you saw, it's probably because you did not give us feedback last time. So I encourage you to do that. Give us feedback. So this time next year, if you didn't like it, you like it. Some of the things on our roadmap, just to kind of call out what we have, and this will be in some of this will be in the survey as well. We're continuing to add to custom roles, admin units. We're investing in admin units heavily. We're also investing in those in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So we know that this is an important thing to do scoping. So we're going to keep pushing on that. You're going to see PIM integration in multiple places. We want PIM integration in admin units, PIM integration in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center for user and role management. Those are some big things that are coming. Groups assigned to roles is another thing that's in preview right now. That's going to be a pretty important thing, we believe, for people to efficiently manage roles. A lot of the things we talked about, it's about getting them to be more broadly accessible and getting them out the door. Beyond that, there's things that we are looking to prioritize, like which pieces of admin units do you want most? And things like that, like what are custom roles more important than other things that we have on our backlog? So to me, it's super important to get that survey I just talked about filled out so that you can help inform everything that's below this cut line, or that's in our backlog. It's not the cut line, but everything that's in our backlog, and that you could help us even with new ideas on solving new problems that you might have. We realize that the world has changed since we sent these surveys out before. Your needs have changed. Is there things that you need in the mobile app now because the world has changed? And you need another surface to be able to do these things. I'm not trying to precede things, but the point is there is new ways of thinking about things and new needs that have probably come up. Tell us what they are so that we can prioritize those things. Thank you for taking the time to hear about all the things that we've been investing in over the past year and what's to come. I hope you're as excited as we are. I hope you see that we're listening to your feedback and trying to deliver what you need to realize least privilege across your Microsoft 365 suite of services. Take the survey, and thanks for your time.